Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is a brand new Pathfinder 2e fantasy adventure campaign, Skymetal Iron Gods. This is Chapter 1, Fires of Creation, Part 1. As for what that all means, in just a few moments I will turn it over to Vi, our game master, who is going to get everything set up real quick since Tamiko's on sound check duty. Can everybody just say hi real quick so we can make sure we can hear everybody?
Hello.
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 Hi.
All right. But that I guess I heard everybody. I'm hoping that means that yep, Tamiko says everybody's good. We're using a new audio video setup. So I wanted to make sure that is all working. This is going to be, well, it's Pathfinder 2e. It's not at all very much different other than the way the players in the game master from our Scribes and Scrolls game. We are all learning here, and we're here to have some fun and tell some great stories together. One thing that is different, though, is if you look up above my head, we have new domain dice for this game that are we also have some new chat commands to go along with it. Typing in ! domain dice will tell you the general rules, and then these are called domain relics. And great, it's not working, so I will have to fix that. Maybe if I type my own command correctly. But those are how we can use these. There's a slight adjustment that I'll make to that. But otherwise, if you're new here, welcome. We hope you enjoy this this stream. And we hope to have some fun together. I don't have a whole lot else in the way of announcements other than our usual reminder that you matter. Your presence on this earth makes a difference. Whether you believe that or not, it is true. We realize that you might be struggling for any number of reasons. And so we want you to know that, one, it is okay to not be okay, but you do not need to struggle alone. At any time, you can come into our chat and you can type !help, as I have just done, and a couple of URLs will show up. First is findahelpline.com. That is a free resource. Simply type in your location anywhere in the world, hit enter, and numerous help organizations will appear. Phone numbers, text messages, websites, all of that. Or you can check out takethis.org's growing list of resources. Be sure to bookmark those sites, save them for yourself, save them for a friend, and remember, you matter. With that, I am going to turn everything over to our game master, Vi.
Hello and good evening. This is going to be Skymetal Iron Gods, a fantasy campaign. The stars, these wonderful players here. We begin in the blasted steplands of Numeria, to the far north of the world of Galarian. It is a very distant and isolated realm, and it is not very habitable. For a long time ago, the plains and steppes of this place were blasted and destroyed by an event called the Rain of Stars, when the heavens went ablaze and mighty things from beyond this realm crashed into the landscape. And today the land is still scarred from that event many, many, many centuries later. Here in Numeria, the folk are nomadic people, though there are some towns that try to make out some kind of existence. One of those towns is the town of Torch, which we begin our journey today. The town of Torch is an enigma, in the land of Numeria. It is a very sedentary place, for it is built around a great hill, and atop that hill is a giant, blazing purple bonfire that arcs into the sky intermittently. A giant jet of purple flame. That is the namesake of the town of Torch, and the people of Torch use this as their means of existence. They can use this powerful purple flame to melt things that they call Skymetal, the debris from the Rain of Stars many, 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 many centuries ago. They use it to smelt it down, to forge it, and create arms and armor and tools out of what is called Numerian steel, the best kind of steel in the planet. It can only be made here with this great forge atop the hill of Torch. So this torch of Torch is the town's lifeblood. And a week ago, the flame went out. No longer did the purple permanent fire scorch the top of that hill. Instead, now it is a quiet, bubbling sinkhole that appears to no longer burn. Maybe it never will. This disrupted, of course, the economy of Torch. The councillors of the city, they met and they discussed what it was to do. And one of such councillors, the intelligent and wise Councillor Conyer Bain, went down to investigate both the hilltop of where the torch was ablaze and down a place called Weeping Pond, which is where the water source of Torch comes from. He discovered something interesting. He went trying to find the source of this, of why Torch has gone extinguished, and he has yet to return from his expedition. This, of course, now the council, one member fewer than they were before, has become even more desperate. Tensions are rising in the town as now it's been over a week of Torch's economy, its lifeblood coming to a standstill. And there seems to be no answer in sight for anyone. Thus, the council has put out a bounty, a reward, a twofold one. A large sum of coin for the party or persons that can reignite the flame of Torch, as well as a large bounty of coins if you can return with Conyer Bain. And that is where we begin. It is the four of you. You have arrived upon the steps of the town hall. You are waiting in attendance with the only counselor that seems to be keeping post and doing their job here in the town hall, while the other ones are quite busy dealing with other affairs that have popped up now that the town is in chaos and very precarious. Before we get into this, I want each of you in turn to describe your character, introduce us to them, as well as telling us a little bit about them. We can start with you, Em, and we can go around the group here. Describe your character and tell us a little bit about them.
So Gideon stands with one foot up on the step as he surveys the town hall. He wears clothing that is very obviously not of Torch, but from a wealthier southern, maybe a more coastal region, as at one point, outfit was filled with these brilliant blues and golds and greens, bright colors now faded with the months of travel. Everything is a bit frayed, but he still holds himself very tall as he looks at the steps, and he's more of a um, he's silent as he looks around, very much taking in everything as he kind of taps his fingers on the side of his thigh in some kind of rhythm.
Awesome, thank you. And we will go to you, Jake. Go ahead and describe your character and tell us a bit about them.
Tall, thin individual, more androgynous looking than inherently masculine, though he has taken on a masculine identity. You see this figure wearing predominantly leather and cloth, with metal bits of decoration. A good look at it shows that it is equal parts designed to have the look of Torch local fashion, but if it were redesigned by somebody in the bigger cities, somebody who takes a little more care into how they appear, as even now he reaches down to pull a bit of dust or debris away. His look of his face is, again, somewhat masculine, but mostly almost androgynous. Irregularly sharp angles to his chin, cheekbones, nose, brows. And probably the only real sign that he's not truly human is if you are in close proximity, you might note at his temple and in what would be the veins of his neck, you might see a slight, almost arcane illumination trail through momentarily, quick enough that you're not sure you just saw it or not. His designation is D3XT3R, but everybody just calls him Dexter. He's currently standing, as he often does, walking almost as if patrolling, though he holds no position of constabulatory authority. He has the look of somebody who's just keeping an eye on things. And that is what Dexter is doing.
Awesome, thank you. We'll go to Kaeryn now.
So as those two are standing by the steps, we see another figure approach. This one is definitely, even from a distance, you can tell is an elf. Ears are long and pointed. Hair is long and blue, kind of a blue silver almost. Um, she's dressed in this kind of light fabric. Again, not doesn't look like it would be from Torch, but from somewhere else as well. Um, and as she's moving, it's almost like she's gliding, when in fact it's actually very true. Her hair and her clothing seem to defy gravity, and they're kind of billowing and floating as if gravity itself does not actually have the same effect on this person as it does on everyone else. And as she's approaching, um, she looks at the others with these large eyes where they're mostly pupil. There's very little color in them, as elves have in this world. But unlike most elves that you've seen, where their eyes kind of just look black um, in the whites, this her black eyes are, in fact, if you gazed into them a little bit longer, you would see stars and galaxies moving in them. Um, and she's approaching the steps, and it's almost like she's not even looking at what is actually here in the physical world. It's almost like her head is somewhere else as she's walking this way. She's thinking, who knows what she's thinking, but her head is definitely not here in the now. It is somewhere else, and she is just walking to where she's supposed to be.
Thank you. We'll go to you, Sara.
On the steps, probably sitting on a step that's in between Gideon and Dexter, is a very small white rat whose tail, the tip of it, twitches in impatience and a little bit of maybe irritation as she is very meticulously checking the, what some could say, a little too large hand cannon for her because of her size. But she's very meticulously cleaning it, and you can hear the little pings of springs as she's making sure everything is in the perfect spot. You can hear as she loads her ammunition into it, and she's just very gently turning it. And when you look at her and you see her, you see this small white rat with a wide brim fedora on, that the brim, just as it hits her very large pink ears, folds a bit against her ears. She wears a scarf and a thick jacket, but underneath the jacket seems to be a light shirt. So if she gets too hot, she can very easily just take off the layer. She looks as if she did go into the if she did come from the sewer, she hasn't been there in a while. She's actually quite fresh and clean, and everything is has a specific place on her. Her clothing almost looks ironed. She keeps herself very well presentable. And with a piece of straw in her mouth, you can hear her mumbling to herself about maybe there's something like something a spring didn't go in right. You can hear her grumbling about it as she's putting it back in place. But there she is sitting on the steps, cleaning her hand cannon.
The four of you have known each other for quite a bit. You are a complete adventuring party, and you have spent quite some time together. Though perhaps you were a bit separated or distant until these moments this past week where the Tower of Torch had become quite precarious in its situation. One of you decided to get the team back together, and one of you really didn't like this idea very much, a bit begrudging or hesitant or resistant to this idea. Who was the one that got the team together, and who was the one that resisted the most?
I think that being very motivated to get the torch back up and running, I think that Gideon would have approached the others meeting them at some point or another, thinking that they would be the best to get this done. And the money doesn't hurt either. I'm sure that was a big factor, that Gideon would have definitely emphasized if there was one that was particularly less than keen on coming on this or taking on this adventure. But yeah, I think Gideon would have been the one really pushing to do this, knowing that he couldn't do it alone.
And who was the one that Gideon had to convince the most to show up here at the steps of the town hall?
I think probably Inanisara. She's got other things she's thinking about and wanting to do, and going off to do who knows what somewhere is probably not on her list of things she wanted to do today.
Well, the four of you are here, and the town hall lies before you. You step into this meager and cozy shack. It is ornate, it's pretty, it's designed well, but it's old. It's starting to look a little bit run down. You can see inside there's kind of a big common area, and then some desks at the far end, four of which are unoccupied, and the fifth one has sitting at it, at a little stool, writing down some paperwork with her quill, a dwarven woman who is getting on in many years, even for a dwarf. Her very, very salt and pepper hair, her wrinkles and crow's feet. They all try to hide some kind of power that she has, some might, but it carries through nonetheless, as she appears to still be a very formidable person. And she looks up, looking over the tops of one of her spectacles that help her read such close writing. Another adventuring party, I see. Well, I take it you're here for the bounty. And hearing no response,
Gideon would respond, except there's a huge truck outside of the apartment right now. So, yeah, Gideon steps forward and yes, that is us. We will be getting everything sorted, getting back the counselor, and getting and he you can see that his eyes are like moving around. He's trying to see if he can spot a hint of a chest or anything that might be put on display.
you'd find no such thing. This place seems to be quite bare and very plain, this office. She leans forward and places her tobacco pipe onto her desk. The news spreads fast then. If you can reignite the flame of torch, 250 gold pieces is your reward. If you can bring Councillor Conir Bane back, another 250 gold. If you can bring him back alive, well, it'll be a scroll of raised dead in that bounty as well.
Because if he was dead, then you would have used that scroll anyway. But I get it. And he taps on his head.
We have our contingencies in place to keep the leadership of Torch alive.
He nods.
Much about this mission that you are trying to undergo.
You just explained it. Light the torch, get the counselor.
Yes, that is correct.
250 gold. Another 250 if the counselor is recovered.
Yes.
For a total of 500 gold
Yes.
each.
No. It'll be.
It is
Given
always
together-
important to clarify payment up front.
It'll be a sum of 500 golds in total for those 2 deeds done.
Gideon smiles and... Right, so have any leads?
Conir Bane himself was investigating the disappearance of our flame. She kind of spins around on her stool to not really be facing you, more like facing the wall, as if she's recalling events that have happened. About a week ago, 8 days in fact, the light of the torch went out. I'm sure all of you remember that day quite vividly. That same afternoon, Conir Bane went down to Weeping Pond, checking to make sure the water hasn't been tainted or become any more toxic from this event. He has some theories, and his mind is beyond even mine to understand why. But he came back with some discoveries. Odd footprints, humanoid, along the banks of Weeping Pond, as if they're going inwards into the water, and they do not return. And so, us counselors, we hired adventuring parties, much like yourself, to go investigate what lies beyond Weeping Pond, where these footsteps could have led to. There are caverns beneath Black Hill. We first sent a team of halflings we had hired. They did not return from their expedition. So then, of course, the bounty went out again. We hired a group of local adventurers and fame seekers, volunteers they were. They also did not return. This perturbed us. 2 teams disappeared beneath Black Hill. And so he went himself, Conir Bane, with some of his closest companions, friends, and allies. And they returned within the day. He had returned with some kind of golem, some construct, though it was malfunctioning and inert. They had come back with some injuries, and, well, they discovered a whole system of caves down below the very ground that we're standing on right now. Including strange figures, creatures that resembled people. They could blend into the shadows, into the cavern walls themselves, as well as a host of vermin that seems to be feeding upon the brackish waters that lap into those caverns. But the one thing that Conir had said that still piques my curiosity, a great wall of Skymetal at the back of the farthest cavern. It is not some crumpled heap, nor the ore that we mine from the ground, from the great craters surrounding and inhabiting Numeria, but a smooth wall. And it had a door that Conir could not open. the fourth team that went below Black Hill. A group of adventurers from out of town. One of them, I remember, was a dwarven priest of Torag, a very signature hammer. They were again hired the bounty that we have offered you, and they have not returned as well. So Conir again thought to bring it upon his own hands, to do it himself. He went with his same cadre of explorers after they had rested a bit from their injuries to go plumbing the depths, exploring what is beneath Black Hill. And they have yet not returned. That has been 2 days ago. That is where you stand now. The entrance to these caves are at a weeping pond somewhere below the waters. It is not visible from the shores. That's why it's never been discovered before now. The waters of Weeping Pond are foul. And so swimming in them would be an unpleasant affair, to say the least. But that is where I imagine you should begin your search. Of course, if you wanted to know more about maybe investigating why the flames have gone out themselves, you could look atop the Black Hill itself too. I know that Councillor Joram has been investigating that now sinkhole with a great purple flame once blue. And of course, I have caught wind that Conir's daughter is quite upset at her father's disappearance. I've heard that she's also aiding teams that go looking for her father as well. But I don't know quite to what extent. She'd be found at her father's place, a small stop called the Foundry, below at the base of the hill. And all of you would know what this is, the Foundry. It's a kind of a small little hole in the wall tavern that is very common for travelers coming through, where Conir often presents his magic and his alchemy, almost for show, for patrons and guests. That is what I know about the affairs here. And that is what information I can give you.
And what of Conir Bain's friends, his troop that went with him? Do they have family, friends? Anyone they could talk to about what happened, what they saw, the injuries that they got?
Conir's contacts, the ones that went with him, they're from all over Numeria, not local to Torch. They are experts in their desperate fields.
But they must have stayed here in Torch somewhere.
They would have been staying at the Foundry. Conir offered the spare rooms of his tavern to his companions.
I think Pex'alily would kind of scoot herself closer to Dex and just kind of tug on his pant leg to kind of have him crouch down to her.
Yes. What is it?
You know how I am. I kind of heard a little rumor about where they had gone into. Not sure I really want to talk about it here. Um, but you're good at letting the others know. So can you kind of just tell them that we kind of need to have like a little like powwow or something?
I feel like this is a very common exchange with Pex'alily communicating certain aspects through Dexter. Once certain that you have said everything you have to say, just turns towards you in this sort of. Dexter does not crouch down like you would expect a normal human. He crouches very uncomfortably, uh, seemingly, just sort of lowering, like his torso is like perfectly straight, but the rest of his legs just sort of crouch down. So he's almost just reduces his size, kind of cocks his head to you and says, "Yes, I understand. When the opportunity presents itself, I will talk to Gideon and the others."
Thank you.
Oh, wait, one more thing. What about that golem that he found? Where is that?
Well, he wouldn't have taken it with him. Perhaps it's set up in his laboratory and in his house next to the foundry.
And we could get access to that?
Ask his daughter.
You see Gideon is like leaned in at the talk of, there being a golem and a whole Skymetal wall. He really leaned in with a lot of interest, and now he kind of taps the table twice, nods. Well, I guess it's to the foundry then.
Good luck with your search. And come back alive, please. I would not want to have to send another team to their death below.
You can rest assured, ma'am, that if all of these are to perish, I shall return.
She kind of caught a little bit off guard by the phrasing of your comment, but she'll give kind of a nod and return that tobacco pipe to her mouth and take a deep inhale as she turns her back to the four of you as she stares at the one of the cases, that one of the cabinets along the far wall of this town hall. She's deep in thought now. So the four of you, you've been given an interesting set of leads, as well as an interest in convening in privacy. At least Pex'alily has asked. What do the four of you do?
Once we're outside, I will immediately walk over to Gideon. Gideon,
Dexter?
I agree that the foundry is a good place to start. I think that we should also we should try to see what Counselor Jaren is finding about the missing flame before heading to the Weeping Pond. Also, Pex'alily believes that she may have a lead as to the entrance.
Oh, and what does that lead? He sidles over, looks back to see Pex'alily and gestures her forward.
I don't know if you would call it a lead, but it's just a little rumor that I heard. And I mean, again, it's just a little one. The thing, the big the golem, That's what it's called, right? Yeah. The golem that Bane pulled out of there. Apparently it's not the only one. And uh they're coming out of the hole.
The
And
whole.
from what that lady in there said, I think that's what's attacking the people that are coming out.
Yeah, I think Gideon would nod.
I think we should be a little bit careful. I do like Dex's idea of meeting with Counselor Joram before we go down into the hole.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get as much information as we can in the town here and talk to the other counselor, and then before we head off to our adventurous deaths. Well, except for Dexter, of course.
I'm sorry, Gideon. Why have you excluded me?
Oh, well, you made it very clear that you weren't going to die.
I have not died yet.
Oh,
Nor do I
well,
intend
neither
to.
have I.
Well, in that we are equal, though I feel my chances of survival are slightly greater.
I don't know. I could hide in tiny places.
Yeah, Gideon is like looking. You can see, and maybe this is something that has maybe gotten Dexter in the past. Is he like will just like look, and will like just kind of tap a part of Dexter. Looking a bit squeaky there. As he stands back. Oh, sure, it's nothing.
You visibly, it's small, but you see Dexter sort of straighten up a little bit, and then waits until you turn away, and immediately starts looking at like his left arm and just. I don't hear a squeaking.
I think he's lying. I think he's lying to you. Don't worry about it.
Shh! I thought I heard something. The only thing worse than a cocky android is a neurotic android.
So, where is it in the town of Torch you're heading to? To the top of Black Hill, where
I think we were headed to the
namesake
foundry.
is? To the foundry? Okay. You head down the road, down the hill, seeing the namesake of foundry. I imagine all of you have been here before, seeing the spectacle that Councillor Conir Bane has once put on. It is quiet here, though. It is almost forlorn, empty, and desolate. You can see that there's a closed sign that's been draped over the front entrance of the foundry. And it looks like no one is living here until you hear a scream and a crashing sound as the back side of the foundry, the wall bursts open, and you see a strange creature bursting out from the wall. It has 3 spider-like legs below its body, a swiveling, almost cylindrical body with 2 grasping arms on either side. Its head is punctuated by a circular eye that glows red. Its body is made of what looks to be metal, though metal not at all forged by any human smiths, but almost like these plates, like armor. Some of them have fallen off, revealing some metallic skeleton underneath. It is whizzing about. You can see these grasping claws grabbing at the walls and ripping them apart. And that's going to be rolling for initiative, which is a perception roll for everyone. Let's see if I...
So, quick question.
Mhm.
On my character sheet, it says perception is +4, but initiative has +0. But I can't click on initiative, so I don't know what that means.
Don't worry about that. That's nothing. Just click on the perception, and you should be able to roll from there.
Okay, so I should have +4 on this roll.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
The
but
initiative,
that's
there
not
are
correct.
there are certain feats that give you a bonus to initiative. If you have that feat, it'll add that number in, I think, for your
Okay.
for the relevant roll.
Ooh, wow, these are some big numbers. All right. Pex'alily, you are the first to act as you see what you can only imagine to be the deactivated and inert golem that Conir Bane brought back from underneath the caves beneath Black Hill, ripping and tearing the building apart with its own grabbing hands. And upon your approach, the four of you, the head will swivel around uh, like an owl upon its shoulders, looking directly at the four of you with a single red eye, and buzz out something in a language that probably none of you understand before beginning to kind of skitter towards you. What do you want to do, Sara? Slowly.
I think that Pex'alily is going to pull out her hand cannon and she's going to take a couple of steps back and set herself kind of in between Dexter and Gideon and be like, I got the aim. Someone else get up there. And then she's gonna pull the trigger. If I read how this works right.
Yeah, awesome. So you have 3 actions on your turn to spend as you wish to do different things. You're making a strike then against the
Yes.
against this
She is
creature?
firing. She is
Alright.
firing her hand cannon.
And you can make that attack roll then.
That is a natural 20.
Ooh.
So I got a 28.
You started us off with a critical hit. So we get to do a Pathfinder critical hit as our first
Hooray.
ever damage roll of this campaign.
I'm gonna go cry.
All right. Now, I am, again, not familiar with how critical hits work.
Double damage.
Yeah.
Oh, you just take the number and double it, huh? Cool. All right, you get to roll the damage and double it.
Okay. So 6 damage is what I've got for that one.
So it's including the doubling, so it's like 3 doubled to 6.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And then
all right, so
she would
as you
have to
blast, as you blast this entity with your hand cannon, the critical strike blasts it so hard you can see like it catches the openings in its chassis from with your pellets, and it blasts off most of the armor, revealing just kind of a bare chassis beneath, as it loses a lot of its armor from this.
Nice.
And then, before we go to Karen's turn, oh gosh, it's unfortunate that I have the names in our chat and not the character names. Dexter, you actually understood what this automaton was saying as it was buzzing and stepping towards you, clattering towards you. You're not quite sure how you know. It's almost as if it's speaking a tongue, almost like a language you've never heard before yet. You completely implicitly understand. Hull has sustained extensive damages. There are intruders. Will repair. Will destroy. So we go to you, Karen. It's your character's turn. You get 3 actions. What do you want to do?
Sorry, I'm reading my character sheet real quick to find out what all these things do. I think I'm going to. Well, she starts to almost chant in this weird undertone. It's almost like she's mumbling to herself, like this chanting, and it's in this kind of ethereal sing-song voice as she starts to dance with her hands. I don't know what heightened means.
Heightened
When
is
you
like
cast a spell?
heightened is like casting at a higher spell level.
Okay, so I probably can't at this point because we're starting, right? I'm casting Haunting Hymn. Um, it's a 15-foot cone, so I have to. If I'm not within 15 feet of him, I will walk up as I'm starting to sing.
So what does this do?
So it's echoing a jarring hymn that only creatures in the area can hear. It deals sonic damage equal to my spellcasting ability mod, which is +4, with a basic fortitude save. If the target critically fails the save, it will also be deafened for a minute.
Awesome. All right. So it will get a 17 fortitude save.
I'm guessing that's probably better than basic. So
I think so because it isn't your spell DC isn't on your character sheet somewhere.
it just says basic fortitude save. I don't know what that means.
It makes a
Divine
fortitude
DC.
save.
17 is my divine DC.
Okay, so it got a 17. Let me check. Yeah, it got a 17, so it passes, but just barely.
Okay. So I moved, I casted. I don't know what else I can do. I guess I do have a weapon, so maybe I'll pull out the mace as well when I'm noticing that it's not being affected by my song.
All right, so that was those 2. Dexter, it is your turn. You have heard it speak to you as it tries to shamble this awkward, stumbling gait with the grinding, torturous sounds of the machinery beneath its chassis as it comes towards all of you. What do you want to do, Jake? Dexter?
As seeing the others start to act on this thing and keeping an eye on it, I am going to, as an action, I am going to use one of my abilities, devise a stratagem. I assess a foe's weaknesses in combat and use them to formulate a plan of attack against my enemy. Basically, I choose my target, I roll a d20. If and when I attack with a strike, I have to use this roll whenever I do that. But I think this substitution only for the first strike you make against the creature, not any afterwards. I can also, when I do this, I can also add my intelligence modifier instead of strength or dexterity. But I also, as part of the devise a stratagem, I can attempt a recall knowledge just to see if I have to critically succeed at that and gain a +1 bonus to attack rolls. So there's a whole lot going on here. Basically, I'm rolling a d20. I've never seen this thing before. Not this failed horribly. I rolled a 3, which I mean, basically, if I attempt to, oh wait, sorry, that's the number I have to use if I attack. The recall knowledge. What would you like? What skill would you like me to use? I'm attempting a recall knowledge to see if I can find a weakness.
Ooh.
There.
I don't know if you have one on your sheet that would fit it.
Well, there is a guideline based on the creature trait. What skills would apply to it?
I mean, it's a construct.
That would be Arcana or crafting.
Yeah, crafting would also be good here too.
Okay, I have the same on those. So let me attempt to recall knowledge. Good lord, that's a 15 total.
And so by succeeding at this, you get a +1.
If I succeed at it, it's the equivalent of I've discovered some kind of weakness. It gives me a +1 circumstance bonus whenever I decide to attack.
You have succeeded.
I will immediately convey that to my allies. I'm choosing not to attack, but by telling my allies that this thing has a weakness, they all get a +1 circumstance bonus to their next attack roll, as long as it's made before the beginning of my next turn. So I'm watching it. I'm hearing this thing talk, and I don't know what kind of a weakness I discover. I think I'll build off of what you said and just say, it seems to have a weakness with its armor gone. Concentrate your attacks there. And that will be my turn.
That's okay. Then Gideon, it is your turn. You have 3 actions you can spend.
Yeah, Gideon is going to. And so just to confirm, Dexter didn't go up to the thing, right?
Nope, I stayed right where I was.
Excellent. Gideon's going up. He's going right up to this thing. You can see that he has taken his sword that he has at his side in both hands. Can you get to the thing in 1 action?
Yep.
Perfect. Excellent. He is going to, you see him hold his sword with both hands, and as he does so, and as you can see the his hands, his tendons begin to like grip into the hilt of the sword, you see this blue crackling energy begin to appear around his fingers and hands and almost begin to form this circle, this arc around his body as he almost looks like he is becoming electrified, as he is going to use his spell strike in order to hit this thing. So that is going to be, and I get a +1 circumstance bonus to my attack, which, hello, roll please. Which is going to be a 25 to hit.
That is a critical hit.
Excellent. So, not only so as he hits, it comes down as this like burst of energy, all of this like crackling lightning that has been kind of building up as he's running towards this thing just gets unleashed as this 15-foot cone erupts from Gideon as he comes slashing down with this sword. And so he is going to he's going to do 22 points of damage. We just yeah, he's going to do 22 points with his sword, and then with that attack, this thing has to make a fortitude save.
Okay.
DC 16.
It gets a 13, so it fails.
So it's going to take 2 sonic damage as well.
All right. So that's 24 damage total. You puncture this thing. What kind of sword do you have?
It's a bastard sword that he has.
All right. Tell me, all right, as you bring this heavy, powerful sword down, you plunge it right into what you imagine a heart would be in a normal creature, but it's instead this box of metal that sparks and smokes as you plunge your sword in, and it short circuits this automaton. As you immediately see that red central eye dim, the creature goes limp and is unmoving at the tip of your sword. There's like an exposed bit of machinery underneath as you pull the sword out. As you've disabled this thing and probably thoroughly damaged it.
Yeah,
No longer moves.
Immediately Gideon just kind of stands, like brushes off any kind of dust or dirt that he had collected as a result of running, but immediately his eyes are to this thing, and he is immediately crouching down by it and is taking a very close look at it. He's not touching it though. Can I make any kind of check? Or I'll let the others go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think as Inanisara Sara sees this happen, she just kind of turns and looks at Dexter. You might maybe not want to look at this, Dexter.
Why would I not want to look at this?
Well, it appears you could perish.
Oh, I see. You are equating this thing with me. Interesting. Well struck, Gideon. Your final blow was adequate. I should tell you, I could understand what it was saying.
And what was that? As Gideon's like, you can see he's like crouching down behind this thing, trying to get a better look at it.
Its actual words seemed to be a status report of such. It mentioned that it was severely damaged, attempting to make repairs, and that it was attempting to destroy us. Am I able to identify what language it was speaking?
I think you can do so easily through deduction. It certainly wasn't Aklo, it wasn't Common, it wasn't Goblin, it wasn't Orcish, it wasn't Hallett, it wasn't Isoki. The name Androphen comes to mind, though you're not quite sure where you would know this language. But the name springs to mind as if it's a memory you've forgotten, or a place you've been but can't remember when you've been there. It's like the tip of your tongue.
It was speaking a language called Androphen. Perhaps it is part of my core programming. It is not something I've heard before. Yet I recognized it immediately.
Maybe you were cousins or something.
It is unlikely. We do not have blood relations as many of you humanoid. Oh, I see. You are making a joke.
Pex'alily over here trying not to laugh.
I should
She's
mention
like-
I have a trait called emotionally unaware.
And so, Gideon, as you're kind of looking and investigating this automaton, this golem, you can give me a crafting or arcana or knowledge arcane, I think it's, or arcana, whatever it's called.
Arcana, yeah.
One of those checks. Either one will do.
I am going to go with crafting.
Hurry, it sounds like there's more coming.
Oh my goodness. That's a 10.
You know that you've never seen this kind, and I imagine you've probably maybe once seen an arcane golem before. So what skills do you use, crafting or arcana?
I used crafting.
All right. What's the difference between the two skills in power?
They're the same.
Okay. I'll just give a blended answer then, I guess. You've probably seen an arcane golem before. It is enchanted with sigils and runes and given life by some wizard's instructions. This doesn't have any kind of signs of that. This has a skeleton made of metal and armor that has been blown off by the pellets of Pex'alily. It's doesn't even look clockwork. Even it baffles all understanding of what an automaton could be. The make of the armor, the details upon all the bits of the chassis, they are far too intricate, far too delicate to be made by the hands of a smith. These don't seem possible, at least to your knowledge. What you do know is that this is not the intended form of this thing. It was broken even before the four of you encountered it. You could see bits of armor would have hinged on even before Pex'alily blasted most of it off. You could see that it had suffered some damage to one of its legs that caused it to have less mobility in one of the joints, which is why it made that agonizing grinding sound and kind of limped over to the four of you when it was trying to attack you.
This thing was already hurt. This is fascinating, Gideon says as he's totally engrossed in this automaton, this golem.
And as the four of you stand around the quote-unquote corpse, the disabled form of this automaton, a figure steps out from the hole in the wall from where it had burst out. A figure that most of you probably recognize. She is Valerie Bain, the daughter of Conir Bain, though she looks nothing alike her so-called father. Her hair is blonde and tight cropped, and her skin is dusty in hue. She's holding, clenched in white knuckles, a dagger in seemingly self-defense. She peers over, seeing it's dead, at least disabled. Oh, it all of a sudden just came to life. Thank you so much. You just came in the nick of time. Let's not keep it out here. Let's drag it back in. I'm sure that Father will want to investigate. We'll just secure it in his laboratory.
I think you should find a way to make sure that doesn't turn back on.
Put it in a cage or
Gideon.
something.
Gideon, is there something you can do, maybe? I know you were looking at it.
Yeah, Gideon's gonna look again just to see if there's a way that he can ensure that it won't turn back on.
Another
you do
crafting
another-
check. Yeah.
So as an investigator, I have a few things that I can do, and I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. One of my features is called Pursue a Lead. So over the course of 10 minutes, I can spend, or once every 10 minutes rather, I can spend 1 minute examining the details of a potential clue, designating the subject as related to it. So this thing is the subject of what I'm looking at, giving me a +1 circumstance bonus. As a reaction, if anybody else is investigating the same thing I am, I can clue them in and give them a +1 bonus.
So we'll then bring that up to 27 then, huh?
And that would allow me to also make a, did you say it was a crafting check?
Crafting, yeah.
I'm going to put that die away because it has not rolled more than a single digit. That is going to be for me with the +1. That will bring it up to, let's see, crafting was 6, so 15, 16 for me.
Okay. That's a success for you, Dexter, and a critical success for Gideon. So what you'll know, the two of you, as you're looking at it, is it somehow had captured lightning and smoke into its body. And it erupted when you punctured it, and perhaps that was its power source. It probably won't be able to function without more lightning coursing through its metal frame. And you get in with your critical success. This thing is not going to move probably ever again. You can even see part of where you've stabbed some kind of strange, nasty smelling, almost like 10 times worse than vinegar. This kind of like black sludge pooling now from the deepmost part of your puncture wound of your bastard sword. You even notice that there's a little bit on the tip of your blade. And if you're going to wipe it off with like a cloth or something, you see that it's even caused the metal of your sword to kind of get a little bit pitted from that strange sludge, as if it was eating away at it.
I think seeing the sludge that may be on Gideon's bastard sword, if Gideon looks like he's going to go to touch it, Inanisara would immediately say, "I would not touch that if I were you."
Yeah, you see Gideon was like putting his hand towards it and immediately just like stops.
I have heard that 2 foolish dwarves went up to Black Hill on a dare to drink that sludge, and one of them almost died from it as it ate his belly. So I would not touch that if I were you. Of course, the other one became really super strong, but hey, It's just a story.
Gideon like cocks an eyebrow, but is going to retract his hand and it's going to use some type of cloth to clean it.
Yeah, the sludge has dissolved part of the tip of your sword, causing it to be kind of like almost like rusted, like a kind of like a rusted flakiness that happens from long weathering exposure. That was a little bit over a minute of this stuff on the tip of your sword.
Yeah, Gideon sighs, like annoyed at his. He's like, "Ah, I just fixed this thing too," and he like kind of like scratches at this like rusted part of it. But yeah, he's how big is this automaton? Like, is it gonna take like a few people to drag this back in?
So it is smaller than a person, yet when you go to lift it, is probably several times heavier than one.
Yeah, so he's gonna look to Dexter. You're gonna help me lift this?
Was that a question?
No, he says as he like grins and goes to pick up the golem.
I will help.
And so Val Bane guides the four of you into the home through the hole in the wall. Gestures over to where Conier's laboratory is, allowing you to set this broken and impaled automaton inside a makeshift cage, like observation area, and offers the rest of this home just to recuperate for a moment, catch your breath. As we're going to go as well to recuperate and catch our own breaths as we go on a little bit of a break.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes.
And welcome back. We've taken a bit of a respite, and so have our characters, as they dust themselves off from the quick altercation with a strange automaton found, well, that was supposed to be in the care and study of Conier Bane, but that man is missing, and it seems that the automaton has rendered itself active and rampaged. You have spilled it off into a corner of Conier's laboratory, and you need to step into this place. You can see that it is far beyond your comprehensions. There are alembics of strange potions being brewed on a small, low fire, diagrams upon diagrams pasted to the wall, thick, heavy tomes, small, strange animals, like familiars, perhaps, that comes to mind, perched in little cages along the roof and along the wall. You've slumped the body of this automaton against the wall and draped one of the empty cages that Conier uses for his studies over top of it, so that it cannot move and cannot budge if it were to ever reawaken once again. As you wipe the grime and sweat off your hands, return to the common area of the Bane household. Val turns to you. I take it then that you are looking for my father.
Yes, that is correct.
You have that air about you of, I don't want to say mercenary, but I know you type. We've met before. I was wondering whether this would happen sooner or later. He's going to be okay, and you will be as well. Please, just bring him back safe. He's smart, he's cunning, he's safe, he's fine. Just maybe in a bit of trouble, but nothing that he can't get out of. and you can kind of see that she's not really coping with the idea of her father being missing very well.
Inanisara would actually go up to her, put her hand on her arm, and say, "If Desna wills it, he will return safe."
Even if Desna does not will it, you will return safe. As she blasphemes a bit to you.
Yes, dear. I think she's just kind of like, she doesn't want to like scold the girl at this point, but she's not really very happy with that remark. But we'll let it pass. She's upset. Um, do you know what your father was like interested in? What was he mainly researching? Maybe that would help us find where he...
He was a brilliant mind, alchemist, wizard, polymath. Uh, he's been trying to teach me his craft too. I've picked up a spell here or there and a potion, but he knows everything. He knows everything there is to know, I think. One day I'll be as powerful as him. He didn't really say much, though, about his first expedition down there. He usually keeps to himself, doesn't even keep much notes. All of his ideas locked in that brain of his. But he did leave some supplies behind. I checked to make sure that he took all of his things. He can be a bit. He can be a bit quick to adventure, you could say, leaving things behind. I don't really know all of the things that are in his chest of supplies, but I do know what this one is. She kind of leans over into the room and pulls one out. This is a potion of healing. It's one that he made with me, showing me how to make the recipe. And I guess he kept the one that he did. So here you go, I guess, if you're going to go look for him. Keep you off of death's door. Now she hands you a potion of minor cure wounds, I think is what it's called in this game. Yeah, minor healing potion is what it's called.
I'm sorry, would thank her, and hopefully we don't need this for your father, but it may come useful. Thank you.
Did you see him when he came back after the first time going down there?
Mm-hmm.
What did he say?
He didn't say much. He brought in that thing to this section of his study. And he closed the door and refused to have any kind of distractions or interruptions.
And his associates? Anything from them?
They stayed in the foundry. They took over the rooms instead of where the guests sleep. I mean, they did get a bit drunk. And I did overhear some things. I remember them talking about how one of them was gloating about how they killed that bastard. They were chuckling about how they were cowering. I don't know what it was cowering, but it sounded violent and awful. But I didn't like that guy anyways. one of the shadier types that Conir is known to associate with. No, I don't know, maybe they had a past together. He doesn't really like those kind of people, but Conir has connections.
What you describe as a shady individual. Would this... Did Conir seek this person out, or did they seek him out?
My father sought him out. They've done something before. An old friend. I owed him a favor, I think is what what it was.
I understand that you are very worried for your father, but you should know that in the event of your father's death, the council has put a contingency plan in place. And then I very hesitantly reach a hand out and just sort of pat her shoulder. In my mind, I am doing the totally human thing of consoling her.
Wait, they're looking to oust him from the council? No, he's one of the most important people in this town. He let the people actually drink the water for Torum's sake.
Not to remove him. I'm sorry, you misunderstood me. If he is dead, they plan to bring him back to life. All I mean to say is you should not fear for your father's life.
Oh, you speak of resurrection. We need his body for that, wouldn't we?
We will find him, dead or alive.
Mm-hmm. And she's not comforted at all by this.
We're the
Pex'alily.
best with this.
Pex'alily comes up. She kind of like taps Dex's leg, and I think you scared her enough.
It was not my intention to frighten her.
I know it wasn't. I know. She's not used to your way of talking like we are.
I will attempt to be better.
That's all you can do is learn, and we appreciate that you're trying to learn.
What kind of injuries did they have? You can see that Gideon is like still on like the associates and seeing Conir. Conir.
One of them came back with a stab wound to the ribs. I remember seeing the bandages and the blood. Another one with bites, like swollen, almost like from vermin or something. They were swollen on his arm, on the shield arm, as if whatever bit him could just pass through his shield or something. And the last one, he was cursing about how he had to put his crossbow back together. A creature in there disassembled it? I don't know, but he had to put all the screws and back into the wood and to retighten the string of the bow. It's I'm not quite sure what they encountered down there, to be honest.
Well, at least we he like scratches his head as he no, actually we still have no idea what we're going after, but appreciate your help.
Just watch for stabbings and bites and make sure the
Disassembling.
gear doesn't fall apart.
And creatures that break apart things. Yes. Sounds very simple.
One of them had a nasty cough too. I don't know if that's. I don't remember hearing him cough that much when he arrived in town, but he was coughing quite a bit. He said it was nothing, but I mean, I had to clean up the linens. It was coughing up something foul, bloody. I was hiding it from the rest of them.
What was it? Just blood?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't anything else in there.
Bits of phlegm and this is very, very gross.
Oh,
So disease-ridden, vermin-laden,
I'm getting tired of all the vermin now.
weapon-destroying. This is. Why did we want to do this again, Gideon?
There is more money than we could ever know what to do with out of this.
I was about to say money.
That is the worst reason to do things.
As I said,
It is the necessary reason to do things.
I will carry on your legacy if you all die from disease and poison.
I appreciate that, Dexter.
Dexter, my ghost will haunt you. You
I
can
don't
be
think
sure
he would
of
know what
that.
to do.
I actually
with
look forward to that, Gideon. That would open a whole new avenue of paranormal investigations.
Happy to help.
Well, have we any other
Listen.
questions for this young woman?
So you're planning on going down there soon, yes?
Well, we have a few other stops to make.
I heard that the caves below town, they're quite far underwater. I did hear about Counselor, the priest one, Joram, casting some kind of blessing to let my father's companions breathe underwater, just to not have to worry about that section of the caves. I don't know if perhaps you pull that request too. I'm not sure.
That's the one who's at the
On the top of the hill. Yep.
On top of the hill, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Well, luck would have it, we're out to see him next.
Stay safe. And I know that you. Yeah. You'll live. You'll be good. You'll bring my father back. She says as she kind of crumples up the frock of her dress nervously in her hands. I'll get the wall fixed. Don't you worry. She tries to make a joke about the giant hole in the wall. But yeah. You set out then to the top of Black Hill. As you leave this place, the foundry and the Bane households, you ascend the path up the hill. And as on your way up, you hear commotion. Well, where am I supposed to dump my waste then? If you can't burn it, where are we going to put it? We can dump it in the water. No one will know. You overhear as you can see like two people with like a giant like wheelbarrow full of waste, like food waste, animal waste, etc. As they're debating on how to dispose of their newfound garbage. But we drink from that water, right? Oh, no, the wizard put up a little temple there. It's fine. The water tastes clear as ever, no matter how foul it gets. I don't know. It's probably fine, you know, if just a little bit here and there, as long as we're the only ones doing it, right?
Do we hear this conversation?
Yeah, you're overhearing this conversation.
I will approach.
Uh,
That is not a good idea. And she's got her gaze on her, very serious. Her eyes are like going to bore into them. If anything, it will be using the intimidating persona that she can. If you just dump a little bit in, and he dumps a little bit in, because you don't think anybody else is going to dump in, and that person just dumps a little bit in, and before you know it, this thing is filled with garbage. Don't do it.
One of them like scratches the back of his head.
Don't even think about it.
Where are we supposed to put it? We can't just keep it in our homes. It stinks. It's foul. We can't incinerate it anymore because the fire's gone out.
Do you not know how to put wood together with flame? Put it yourself.
That would burn horrid.
Then
Smoke.
bury it. Think of something. Don't dump it in your water. Come on, man.
Well, so the other one like mumbles, if you bury it, it'll still end up in the water table. You know, the rainwater and all that.
Find a place. Think it over. You have to eat here and drink here. This is your home. Treat it like your home. You wouldn't just go throw this garbage around your kitchen, would you?
We could put it on someone else's kitchen.
And they'll put it on your kitchen. And then that person will put it on somebody else's kitchen. And before you know it, the entire place is filled with garbage. We're back to square one again. You are a smart man. What, do I know his name?
You wouldn't, no. Because
You are a smart man. I can tell that from the way you're conversing with me. You can think of a solution that doesn't involve polluting your very life source. Now off with you.
They begin to kind of like mumble amongst themselves as they pull the wheelbarrow down the hill. Away is to try to figure out where else to put it. If not into the pond and not into the blazing purple fire, then they'll figure something out.
I think as soon as they're out of earshot, she'll turn to Gideon and say, maybe you're right. We need to start this fire up as soon as possible, if it is possible, or this place is going to go to shite.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying this whole time.
Very well. Let's go. And she'll
Glad
start
you're on
to
board.
she'll start to lead the way at this point, now with a new purpose.
As you reach the top of the hill, you find the place oddly abandoned. All of you probably have been up here before, but Gideon knew the most, for this was your trade. This was your learning, your tutelage here. It seems kind of sad and morose, just how empty the top of this hill, once a lively place, is now that the fire is dead. There's the signs of stalls that have been removed, workshops of smiths that have been rolled down the hill and put into storage for a bit because they have no more use up here. The only sign of anyone trying to inhabit this space is a single man. He's dressed in plain clothes. He's got a weathered look to his face, calloused hands, little to no hair as he's balding. He's crouching over the hole that was at least where the flame of torch once burned bright. He's kind of contemplating as he's crouching over it, looking down at it. doesn't seem to give you any sign of his notice of you as you approach. And upon a closer inspection, upon getting a bit closer, you can see that he's mumbling some kind of prayer as he's holding within his hands a wooden holy symbol of the god of Aristil as he's praying under his breath.
Sorry, this is the counselor, right?
Yes. Counselor Joram.
Counselor.
Well, hello. Pardon me, I've been just pondering a predicament here. You're Gideon, yes? I've seen you about.
That's right.
What brings you up here, then?
He like gestures to the non-existent fire that's going on, but that's not happening. Well, we're here to help get this fire back up and running.
You can take a look for yourself. Just don't fall in. It looks quite foul down there. Do you step up to the ledge?
Yeah, Gideon's gonna look.
It is a sinkhole in the ground, and you can see that it has like even caved in more since the last time you've been up here. It is maybe like 5 feet across at its widest point, and like 3 feet down, like 3 feet deep is where you see this like bubbling, shimmering black fluid, and it's like boiling and bubbling, like still frothing and moving, as if it's alive. But there's no giant blazing fire. Even when it wouldn't let out this huge bonfire, there still was this omnipresent fire going that would fill up the space that you'd use for your forging and your crafting needs. But the fire's gone. Not even a single purple ember floats in above this place. As well, you don't remember the pit being this big. As if like it's slowly kind of collapsing in on itself and expanding the way a sinkhole does. The smell is absolutely foul. Though you get whiffs as like it catches on the wind a little bit. You get these odd notes of scents. You get things that smell of vanilla, of citrus, of burning grass, of vinegar, of crude oil. Just these incongruent smells that come from this pit. Seems like torch is torch no more, Councillor Joram says. I've been pleading for the guidance of Aristil on what to do here, but my lord's been quite quiet as of late.
What will happen if you're unable to relight the flame?
To be honest, the town will die. People have already begun to move, take their things and leave town. Find the prospects elsewhere, to the north, to the south. I've heard of people leaving, going up to the capital where the Black Sovereign reigns of Starfall.
They give up on their home quickly, these people.
If they have no way to sustain themselves here, then they will find better prospects elsewhere. That is how it works. People have their families, their lifetimes, generations tied to the purple flame of torch. generations of smiths and traders. And
So you'd think they'd fight for it more.
what can we do? So I do not mean to be. Pardon my outburst. We're just a bit stressed at the moment. We're trying to deal with both the folk and this problem, and coming up with absolutely no solution.
Was Konir looking also to start the fire? Was that part of his...
As I understand it, yes. Yeah, that's the reason why he was exploring the caves beneath. He discovered a whole network of caverns below, and perhaps that is the source of why the fire has gone out. If I were to make any comment, it looks like perhaps this is a great beast and it's a bit congested right now. And he tosses a rock into the sludge, and it kind of just like bubbles and floats and then slowly sinks into the muck.
This does seem to fit with what we've investigated so far. It seems if we are to pursue Connor Bain and the others who have disappeared to the network of caves, then perhaps we will also find what is causing fire to not be lit. 2 for 1, as they say.
As soon as we discovered a whole area beneath this hill, I imagine the two are connected. And footprints upon the banks of the Weeping Pond, the same day the fire goes out, is quite mysterious indeed.
Footprints by the Weeping Pond. Were they coming from the pond or going to the pond?
Into the pond and not returning.
Where were they coming from?
Only the moist and mucky ground near the pond reveals those prints. I couldn't really make heads or tails of it as it got to the dustier parts of town, but
But they were coming from the town.
yes, then there's a. Are you new to Torch? The Weeping Pond is near the center of town, at the base of this hill.
What was the name of... Oh, Valerie. We spoke with Valerie Bain.
His daughter, yes.
Led us to believe that you have an ability that perhaps you would lend to us, to allow us to be able to delve below the depths of the Weeping Pond.
Ah, water breathing, yes. It seems all of you adventuring groups have asked me of this of late. Yes, I can do this. 6 hours of breathing. You'll be blessed to find no issue. You will not drown for 6 hours. Should give you sufficient time to go in, investigate, and come back out.
Can Gideon have a look at that statement? Make like a perception check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, roll me perception, or I guess insight. Is there insight in this game?
No, it's all
Sense-
perception.
It's all perception.
It's
Okay.
sense motive is essentially what the skill is. Or it's not a skill, but that's the action is sense motive.
So sense motive is an action that uses a perception skill.
I think that's just what they call insight.
Yeah.
It's about as vague as
Sense motive.
insight.
Attempts a single secret perception check. Ooh. All right. What's your perception bonus?
+4.
+4.
I was about to say I was going to do the same thing.
there is something quite amiss with the phrasing of his words. As if perhaps he might be sabotaging expeditions and only giving enough water breathing for an entrance and not an exit.
Yeah, that was a yeah. So with Gideon being here for a while, what does he know about this counselor?
You know this counselor to be the local priest of this town. He governs what's called the so like a small little temple. It's not really much of a temple per se, but just more like a shrine to the four common gods of the region, that being Gorum, Desna, Eristil, and a new shrine that's popped up for Iomade that has kind of gained in popularity from the many crusaders that have kind of traveled through this land on their pilgrimage. He offers advice to those who come to seek his counsel. But he also tends any kind of charity work he can for the town. Seems overall a very, very, very selfless individual. But he's done more so through action than through words. You know that he has no partner, no children to speak of, and seems to prefer it that way.
I think Gideon looks at the counselor, pauses for a moment, and the water breathing, you said it would last 6 hours?
6 hours. My blessings can only last so long before they're worn off. I've been using this magical wand that was given to me by Conir himself to extend the strength and potency of my blessings, as he produces from like out of a fold of his pockets, kind of like a rod, I guess, like a magical rod to flow to help channel his divine prayers.
Can Gideon roll like an arcana? Like he doesn't want to say like you're a liar, but he wants to try and like, so he wants to maybe roll arcana on this wand.
So you're trying to identify the wand?
Not identify. I guess it would be I am trained in arcana, so it would be a
Like, what are you trying to get from this arcana roll? I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't know. I'm trying to
is what he's saying possible that a magical rod could increase the potency of his blessings?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be probably like an identify magic or like recall lore. It'd be probably a recall lore check. Recall lore action with arcana.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Recall knowledge.
Recall knowledge, as it was called. Yep.
It's a 16.
This is a success. That's definitely very reasonable. You couldn't be able to like identify if that's exactly what this rod does, but you do know that there is a certain kind of enchantment that can be conjured through magical implements like this that extend the duration of spells.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Gideon's not going to say anything else. He doesn't want to call this guy out. So.
Are you going then down to the caves below? I can cast this water-breathing prayer upon you.
That seems to be our next logical course of action.
All right, we'll just stand still as I call upon the powers of Aristil and Desna to aid you in your travels and your journeys. The breathing. Let's see. Casting time 1 minute, so it takes 1 minute for him to go through all of the somatic and verbal incantations as he says these prayers in common. As he gestures this wand, you can see that the air around you begins to like thicken and almost like congeal around your faces as you can see and feel this like big bubble over your nose and mouth that slowly sinks in and then dissipates as the spell has gone into effect. And you have the water breathing spell cast upon you for 6 hours. You gain the effect of it.
Well, it seems that time is ticking.
The effect of water breathing is very simple. It's you can breathe underwater.
Damn it. I gotta get my boots all wet. Oh, and all the springs. Oh, I am gonna need to dry everything.
It's okay, Pex'alily. Think of it like a heavy rain that just doesn't stop.
I want you to know that I appreciate your attempt.
I am very curious to experience breathing underwater. And I turn and I start walking towards this weeping pond.
It's a quick journey.
Not
Quick
even
journey.
looking over my shoulder to see if anybody's following. I just turn and start marching that way.
Once we get out of earshot from the counselor and on our way to the lake, Gideon is just kind of gonna try and get everyone kind of close together and just something about what he said didn't sit right with me.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Oh, I have to agree with you. He was not telling the truth.
About what?
Just the way he explained it, the water breathing, it just there was
Yes.
something about his wording wasn't adding up.
It wasn't right. He was talking about his attitude and his tone and made it seem like he just didn't want them to come back.
Interesting.
At least that's what I got from it.
Yeah, Gideon nods.
Wait, what you say is, Dexter, you were mentioning that they have a contingency plan if Konir doesn't come back.
That's what the Dwarven counselor told us. And Gideon determined that if we bring him back alive, we will get a scroll of resurrection. If the assumption is if he is brought back dead, they will use the scroll of resurrection to return
But
him to
if
life.
he's not brought back at all, who gets his place?
Oh.
That is a good question.
I imagine you should probably make like a recall knowledge check here. Is there like a local history or something like that skill? Like a local
Society.
Society. There we go.
To say society.
Society. Oh, I'm trained in society.
I am
Yeah.
as well.
And
Figure out what
Inanisara
the case
is
would be if a counselor is gone.
and Inanisara is not going to make this roll because she doesn't pay enough attention.
Well, and I'm from here. That's a 13 for me. My dice are not being friendly tonight.
I was gonna say my dice are not happy with me because that is a whole 7.
I do not typically concern myself with the affairs of government. I don't know if a 13 was enough to understand what's going on, or what the order of succession would be.
You don't know what the order of succession would be, but you imagine someone could benefit for sure from the absence of a council member. And you always remember there being 5 council members in Torch. And so putting 2 and 2 together does definitely give you some suspicions.
While I cannot comment on Councillor Jorum's potential for being motivated by Gunir Bane's absence, I do not recall a time when there was not 5 on the council. So someone would indeed benefit if he were to not return at all. It therefore stands to reason that if they would benefit from him not returning, then it would be in this person's best interest if those who are hired to return him also not return. That would include
then-
us.
I miss your logic there, but I'm sure it exists, so I trust you.
But there's also, and he like gestures up to where the flame should be. That, I mean, if there's no torch, there's no council.
Yes.
Unless someone is biding their time. Unless somebody else has the ability to ignite the flame when they are certain that Gunir Bane is gone. Not only would they benefit from Gunir Bane's absence, they would benefit from being the one to ignite the flame.
They would be a hero here.
All the more reason we should find Gunir Bane ourselves, not to mention the fact that if we fail to ignite the flame, and we fail to find Gunir Bane, that is 500 gold pieces that we will not possess.
That's right. Well, I guess we need to just assume that we're not going to be able to get back the way we came in.
That does seem to be a bit of an odd assumption, but I will give you the benefit of the doubt.
I'll try to look for some places that maybe we can get through.
As I imagine this conversation we've been having the whole time we've been walking towards the pond, when we reach the pond, I will hold up a hand and say, before we all go in, I should take a look first. And I will wade into the water until I'm about waist deep, and then I will just bloop, drop my face in with the intent to, 1, test the water breathing, and 2, just to kind of take a look around and see what might be, if there's anything to see.
First off, the water here in the Weeping Pond is foul and murky, and it feels slimy on the skin, as if there's something in this water that isn't water.
Oh, then the slight change would be as I wade into the water, I immediately. Oh dear. I regret this. Pex'alily, my friend, I think I begin to see your apprehension as whatever it is. Oh. Oh, my clothing is ruined. But I will
I'll help you
continue.
dry off, good buddy.
But I will continue. And I don't know if it will matter in this case with the murky water, but I do have low light vision.
Ooh. So, okay.
I too have low light as well.
As do
So-
I.
So you're going to plunge your head underwater to look around?
Yep, I get to waist deep, and then I literally just bend at the waist and plunge my face in to take a look around.
Perfect. I want two things from you. First is a perception check to try to find where this underwater cave could be. Second one is a fortitude save.
Okay.
But because of your constructed ancestry trait that you have as an android, you'll have a +1 bonus, +1 circumstance bonus to this.
Yep. Okay, so first is the perception check.
Mhm.
I am getting tired of this, and I think what I need is the audience's blessing, as I am going to be the first one to use a hero point, a domain relic, and re-roll that 9. The audience did not help with that. That is now a 7, but it is a total of 13 on perception. I will use a completely different die to determine the fortitude save. My fortitude is +3 Hold on, let me see. Just curious if it automatically added in. Oh, wait. No, that can't be right. Okay. Well, that's a 19 on the die. So that's going to be a 23.
Well, you critically succeed on your fortitude save, but you fail your perception roll. You are unable to see too much into this water, and definitely not from here, where this underwater cave might be. But you certainly know where the cave isn't, and that is within where you could see. So it must be deeper within the pond.
I will. Oh, well, the other question I had is, because as I'm holding my head underwater, is the water breathing actually working?
Yeah, it's working just fine.
I will emerge out of the water and rotate to face the others. It is very difficult to see in this most foul water. Rest assured that when you enter this water, whatever debris and offal has been discarded into the water will become a part of whatever you are wearing or carrying. Also, be aware that those contaminants may well affect you. Lessers, I seem to be unaffected by the nature of the water. However, it is also incredibly murky, and we are going to have to spend some time trying to discover the location of the cave entrances. And the water breathing works just fine. And I immediately turn and plunge back in, waiting for the others to follow.
So, do the three of you follow behind Dexter into the water?
I don't
I
don't like the way you all are contemplating whether or not you're going
I
to
think
water.
Pex'alily has to hype herself up a little bit before she just goes, ah, shit, and she kind of just bolts. And because she's small, it doesn't take long for her to just completely go under. And she is very grossed out.
So, as Gideon begins to step, he is going to take off his at one time very nice overcoat that he, and is going to take it off and put it aside. And as he places his foot into the murk, you can see that same like electric blue lightning energy begin to radiate out from each step he takes, as he's going to cast a warp step, which gives me a plus 5 foot status bonus to my speed, and then I stride twice. Yeah, so I just move faster for a very little bit of time, but he's hoping that kind of puts him ahead.
So, and then Inanisara, are you going to the water as well? Are you going to be staying behind?
I think she hesitates the longest. She watches them go in. She's thinking about what Dexter said, how, this water is going to affect us. She's trying to, she's thinking about that and the fact that he also said that they weren't affected by it. So she's thinking that, well, maybe he could just find the exits and then let us know, and then we can go in instead of having to be in. So she's thinking all of this through, and it's taking a long time, probably. But I think eventually she realizes she's all alone now because they've all gone, and she'll reluctantly follow in.
And those of you who have submerged yourself in this water that are not Dexter, please make me a fortitude saving throw versus poison.
I have things. Is this considered? No, it's not physical damage. Okay. Oh, I got a big whopping 8.
All right, Pex'alily and Gideon, you pass this check. In Inanisara, you do not pass this check. This water is tainted. It instantly causes you to become nauseated as it seeps into your skin, and just the foulness of it, along with whatever strange things have been put into this water, even strange things that hasn't been dumped into this water, cause you to become sickened. You gain the sickened 1 condition for the next hour. Which I will put into the chat of what that means. Here we go. Here's your second condition. Second 1. But with the 4 of you in this brackish water, one of you discovers this cave entrance. It is Gideon, for he leapt ahead with his warp step. You see it, where the Weeping Pond meets the cliff face of Black Hill. Way at its base, deep, deep, deep underwater, a few, maybe even 20 feet deep. That's how deep this is. You can see a crevice in the rocks, a gap, a space for you to swim between. If you keep pursuing this tunnel, you'll find it's winding and snaking until finally you can crest the water, leaving it and entering some underground tunnel, this cave. It is pitch black in here. If any of you have dark vision, please let me know in the chat. Or yes, okay. It's dark vision. How does dark vision work? You see in black and white only. Perfect. So for the rest of you, it is pitch black in here. Not a single mote of light. You can't even see your own hands in front of you. Pex'alily, you can see, however, in really gradients of white and black. The cave walls, they glisten with a kind of slime, some kind of mold or growth that grows along those walls. You can see that the tunnel continues, snaking and winding, curving, though now above water instead of below. And as the four of you adjust now to your dark and abyssal environment here, this almost engulfing darkness that swallowed you whole now, you hear sounds of chittering, of mandibles, of appendages against stone. Clack, 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 clack. As all of a sudden 1, 2, 3 blinding bright lights, hypnotizing, above begin to glow ahead of you, on the wall and above you. 3 massive motes of light that are blinding for a moment. Fortitude saves, everyone, please, against a blinded condition.
That is a 22.
All right. So, Inanisara and Gideon, you are dazzled until the end of your next turn. As you see, as the two of you that succeeded, Pex'alily and Dexter, you see the source. These massive beetles with their abdomens brightly glowing as if they were like what are they called? Fireflies, I guess? Like kind of like fireflies, but beetles. These glowing yellow lights that kind of hum and oscillate within their abdomens. They are each massive, these beetles. They're each like larger than about the size of a dog in size, as they crest above. They crawl on the wall above you and beside you, and then on the ground in front of you, with their mandibles clacking and chittering, ready to devour your flesh. And that is where we're going to be ending our session. We are going to be beginning our session next time with a initiative roll, where the two of you are dazzled.
That's one of my favorite ways to start a session. Dazzled. I mean, rolling initiative.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'm excited to once again be with this group playing in a Pathfinder game. We appreciate everybody's patience as we are all learning this together. I think M is probably the most seasoned Pathfinder player of us at this point, I believe. But we're all learning together. So just like in our Scribes and Scrolls, we appreciate your patience as we figure out, make rules adjudications in the moment, and then later, if we have to, see what they really are supposed to do. But very, very excited to be playing again with all of you. Thank you, Vi, for starting us off on this incredible journey. What is today? Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
I don't know why I'm blanking on the days of the week. Thursday. Be sure to tune in for excuse me. Be sure to tune in on Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Welcome to Paradise, Michigan. Our Kids on Bikes RPG setting. We have a session 6 this coming Thursday. And then Monday nights is our Scribes and Scrolls Pathfinder 2e game. Every other Tuesday. So we'll be back in 2 weeks for Skymetal, Iron Gods for our next session. And next week will also be on Wednesday, our third session of Lawlerville, our Call of Cthulhu Mythos Investigators game. You can always type !schedule in the chat, just to be sure you're keeping up to date on what all games we have going on. We are, before we get out of here, I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you for those of you who subbed, resubbed, gifted subs, whatever. We appreciate your support in that way. Welcome to all of the new followers. And if you're somebody that likes to lurk in the chat, we appreciate you all the same and hope you enjoy our presentation. And of course, a huge thank you to our Game Master Vi and to Kaeryn M and Sara, and I guess me too, without whom this would have been Vi just talking to herself for a couple of hours. With that, we are going to go ahead and end this stream the same way we end every stream. You can say it with me if you want.
A Skymetal.